Says I'm connecting. I hear her. There she is.
Oh,
Hi, baby.
hi.
So,
Hi,
yeah,
everybody.
somebody noticed my shirt.
I love that show.
When is the only time I wear this shirt?
Hmm. Yes, so uh, today is an incredibly sad day, uh, and like I wanted to talk about depression and anxiety because this news is absolutely heartbreaking, and um, you know, like, and then we can go to our questions and stuff. So, babe, what do you have to say about the news that you heard?
Well, let me put a end on the shirt thing. For those of you who don't know, I only wear this shirt when I fly to India to see Indrani. Um, and I had worn it on the channel a lot, but I only wear it now. Um, I understand one of the things that's most troubling to me, aside from the fact of him dying so young and dying apparently at his own hand, is the fact that I'm hearing there are. I'm not just hearing. I saw one. Somebody on my Twitter feed who I blocked said anyone who commits suicide is a coward, and shaming going on right now. So let's just make something really clear right from the get-go, and you add your 2 cents worth too, babe. Anybody who shames someone for committing suicide, you have absolutely no idea what suicidal people are dealing with or what anybody with mental health issues are dealing with. You're transcendently lacking in compassion, you are bigoted, and you are hateful. And you need to educate yourself before you keep spreading your vile evil around the world, because it's the most incredibly insensitive thing you can say to the deceased and to those who are suffering the loss of the deceased, to shame them for having reached a place where they feel so despondent in life that they feel they literally have to end their own life. I cannot stress enough how evil it is to say something like that about someone who has killed themselves. That's my 2 cents worth.
Exactly, exactly. I've been seeing people trash and just spread negativity, uh, towards people who are struggling with mental health illness, mental health issues, and it's to be lonely and to be alone, even with um, 10 million followers. I saw a post somebody wrote that Sushant has had 10 point something million followers, but he was alone that day, this day,
Mm-hmm.
when he took his life away.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, so this is, and um, I was a bit hesitating, honestly speaking, today coming on live and, to celebrate this day because of selfish reasons. But let's take um, the time and talk about, people also suffer from depression when they are, getting a lot of hate because of their relationship, because of their unique relationship, and they commit suicide.
Mm-hmm.
So we will blend in both of these topics and we will talk about, and we have lovely questions. So,
And by the way, everybody, a couple of things about this particular issue when it comes to mental health.
I think I'll
Um,
turn off my fan. I cannot even hear myself.
um, while Indrani and I are not authorities, quote unquote, on mental health, every human being is an authority on mental health to a certain extent, because you all have minds and you all have emotions, and every single human being has struggled. Everybody struggles with mental health issues at some point or another, in the same way that everybody has some kind of physical ailment. You may not be severe, but everybody in their life is going to get stitches, break a bone, sprain an ankle. They're going to have something where they're hurt physically. People get hurt mentally. So we all have that universal authority to say of our own experience. Indrani and I have another level, and not just our own personal experience with our own mental health and lives, but we have parents who have battled mental health issues for their entire lives. And it's one of the commonalities right from the get-go among a gazillion that Indrani and I found out about each other very early on in our relationship, that brought about a level of compatibility leading to compassion for one another, because we could completely relate to what it's like to have a family member that for your entire life you've watched struggle with mental health issues. So, and another thing to say, there is no shame in having mental health issues. There is no shame in seeking help, though your culture and even your own family may tell you it's shameful. And there's also nothing inherently awful or to be ashamed of if you've ever had thoughts about, man, I just wish I wasn't alive anymore, which is a very different kind of thinking than actual ideas of how to take out your own. There's a big difference between feeling like you can't go on and you wish you were dead versus actually thinking through the process of how you're going to do it. If you're in this place, you are definitively in need of some kind of help clinically, professionally, and you need to reach out to organizations to help you. Don't you agree, babe?
Absolutely. I was just talking to my sister about this, and I wanted to ask you, like, what the difference between, I don't know how to term that. I don't even know the medical term. Like plain depression, we go through, and we go to therapists to talk about it. We go to psychiatrists, and
Yeah,
what is and the difference between clinical depression, where you, like, there's a chemical imbalance where
correct.
you go to a psychiatrist and
Right,
and you take medicines for that.
correct.
So
And
can you shed some light?
yeah, and there's also a third variation of depression, which you and I obviously have talked about as it relates to my dad's mental illness.
Mm,
In that my dad has suffered from depression as part of his bipolar disorder, but his depression isn't emotional, it's physical. So there is a depression that people can experience that is literally, he has described it as feeling like he has a lead blanket on top of him, that there's a
mm,
weight to his arm that's heavier than usual. And he literally doesn't even feel like he can lift his arms to shampoo his hair in the shower. But his mindset isn't depressed. He doesn't feel um, morbid or that he wants to end his life. It is a struggle for him emotionally. But yeah, there's natural depressions we feel that are a part of the human experience that don't require any kind of therapy. They do require conversation with people you love and trust. And then there's clinical depression. And I think, since we're not authorities, I think the easiest way to delineate between depression that's healthy that you would talk through and get past and move out of versus clinical depression is, with clinical depression, I think it has two defining qualities about it. The first one being there is nothing that can get you out of it. There's no circumstance, there's no conversation, there's nothing relationally or circumstantially that can get you out of it. And secondarily, it's chronic. It just does not go
mm,
away. And I think those are two hallmarks of, if nothing helps, your circumstances change, relationships change, you talk to people, and this has been going on for an extended period of time, for months. I would say you absolutely need to talk to someone to determine if you're clinical.
yeah. Yes. Absolutely. It scares me sometimes. Like when I was struggling through depression, I didn't know that whether what I was struggling through is clinical depression or just I need to go
Mm-hmm.
to a therapist and talk it out. I need to have
Yeah.
supportive group. So yes, it does scare me, but also, huh? Go
No, no,
ahead.
no, no. You said also, and I took a breath because I took the breath before. I thought you were done with your sentence. So go ahead and complete your also.
I forgot
You,
what I
you
was
forgot?
saying.
This right there is standard kind of thing for Indrani and I. We always defer to each other and then we both forget what we were going to say.
Yes.
What I was going to say when I took a breath was, I understand, and I'm sure you do too. What you were saying caused me to think about it. The fear that someone feels and the hesitation someone has to reach out for professional help, because Um, I was never so concerned about the potential for social shaming, because in the United States, especially on the East Coast and West Coast, there is no stigma to going and talking to a therapist. Everybody does it. It's like, yeah, I was talking to my therapist, sure, and I went out to breakfast yesterday. It's common. The big thing that scared me and still does, and I understand people's concerns, I don't know if it's like this in India, is the predominance I've seen where the psychiatric and psychological communities too easily and too readily and too quickly prescribe meds when
mm,
medications are not always the best answer, and too often it's the first go-to. And um, I remember talking to someone when I was dealing with some things individually who wanted to give me a prescription for something. And it reminded me
ah,
of the medications my dad has to take. And I took it, and yeah, it I didn't have the feelings I felt, but man, I didn't like what I was feeling. So you really got to find somebody that you trust. So I understand that that's a challenge, but
e-
don't let that fear stop you from reaching out
stop you.
professionally. Yeah, no,
Exactly. I was talking to my sister about this, that it is when somebody is going through depression, it is very easy to tell them, like, please go to your support group, please talk to your friends. At that point, that person might not even have friends to reach
right,
out to, and that is
right,
scary.
right.
That is scary. Like every other Instagram post I see, everywhere, it's like go and reach out to your friends, go do this. I know they're saying it in a positive manner,
Mm-hmm.
but that I've seen it like be very common in this situation, that that person at that moment might not even have friends
Right.
to reach out to, and their friends might be like out of, you know, out of station, out of country, and they might be busy with their lives.
Well,
So,
and in addition to that, sweetie, I know from my own personal experience that most good-hearted people,
mm,
they would hesitate to share their problem with somebody because they don't want to burden someone with their problem. So, for example, I've talked with you about this where if I've been dealing with something, the closest people to me to share experiences with would be, say, Ashley, Alexis, and Micah, right? However, because I love them and don't want to burden them, my tendency will probably be to kind of back off and not share it because I feel like I don't want to burden them. So you're absolutely right. It's well intended to say reach out to people you know and love, but it's a much harder thing for someone to do, and that's why I think so many people feel alone and don't know where to turn because they don't see very many options that they can trust. And I think one of the biggest things that can change that is what you've done on your Instagram lives and what we're doing right now, where people talk about it. And it's why I was so adamant at the outset of this live. People won't talk about this if somebody comes into the conversation and just starts saying ignorant, stupid things like, well, if somebody commits suicide, they're selfish. It's just, you shouldn't be part of the conversation.
mm, we should have a broader perspective. And absolutely, I think those like people who think that this is a selfish act should maybe want to like um, watch a couple of movies, read books, and talk to people who are genuinely like suffering through depression and what it's like. Maybe they don't understand. Maybe they cannot fathom the idea. Maybe
They
they are
can't.
not in their shoes.
No,
But
they can't.
I find it like sometimes um, this is trending nowadays to counter attack people with their opinions and
Mm-hmm.
spread negativity or just counter attack for the sake of counter attacking.
It's
And
true.
yes, so
Yeah.
yes, huh?
No, I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah. So should we go on to our questions and just
Sure. Yes,
pray
and
and pray for
yes,
Sushant, pray for
yes.
like his soul, and I hope this brings awareness to a lot of people at how important mental health is in
Hmm.
our society, in every society, in this whole planet. And I wish to do more lives with Aprajita soon again. If she's in this comment section, please, this is a
Hmm.
shout out to you. So yeah,
Yeah.
what do you have to say? Yeah.
No, and I know it's hard to look on the bright side, everybody, on something as tragic as this. But for someone who takes their own life, and it happens here most often and most common with military vets, the rate of suicide in our military veterans here in the United States is transcendently horrifying. How many military veterans come back from combat and wind up taking their own lives? And if there's any light to shine on this, it's the same kind of light that's shined on someone who's battled cancer for a long time and passes away. The difference is that when someone battles cancer, we knew it was happening. But the end result is still, if you can look on the bright side, the fact that this didn't just happen overnight for Sushant. This was something he was struggling with for probably a very long time. And the suffering he felt was no less painful as someone dealing with a terminal illness. And at least right now there's a comfort, though we would much rather have him here and he was way too young and it's tragic and it's awful, but at least there's this sense of, for someone to reach that place, to be in such a place of suffering that he isn't suffering, is the one silver lining on the dark cloud for me, to know we can't change it, we can't bring him back, but my goodness, what kind of suffering was he experiencing, you know?
Yes, absolutely. These situations will hope to bring about like awareness, and I hope it just doesn't like go under the carpet again, and then again something comes up, and then we are again shedding, our tears on social media or everywhere, and then it again goes under the carpet. But I really hope, especially in my country, that mental health awareness is, taken really good care of and is shouted about everywhere. So, oh yes,
Yeah.
I absolutely was, very excited about doing this live. I still am, but with this news, and I'm like, what do I talk about? So, yes.
Yeah. But it's also poignant because someone said it wasn't a good time to necessarily, they commented on my tweet about the fact that we were going to do this, and they said it might not be a good time for us to go live because of the tragic news. And I said, I actually think it's a good time because of our experience with mental health and the fact that this goes right into the frame of what you and Aparajita have been doing your lives about.
Exactly. I mean, we are taking the, time to talk to you guys and to discuss about depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
In
And
this life.
you've gotten messages from stupid babies, as have I. Over the past year, I get my favorite messages are the ones that were the most surprising, which are direct messages I've gotten on Instagram from stupid babies who say, I view you like family, you're like an uncle or a father I've not had, and I'm dealing with this. And almost always it comes down to some form of struggle they're having that's impacting their mental health in some way, shape, or form. So there you go.
Yes.
So yeah, for those of you who didn't read the Instagram about this live and what we were doing, it is now June 15th in India, and that means it's exactly 1 year to the day when Indrani and I were on this device right here looking at each other and expressed that we had fallen in love with each other. The stupid family didn't know about it till October. But we had that date, and we didn't want to just come on and celebrate that. This isn't all about, hey, look at us, we're having our 1 year anniversary. We get so many messages from you guys about relationships that we wanted to answer your questions. So there's 14 I have from the Instagram post, and then I know there's a ton coming in the comments here. So we're going to try and get to all of them. We'll try. So should I read the ones that I copied from the Instagram? Okay. And if you see anything and you want to just jump on it right there, you just jump on it. So here's the first one. Oh, and by the way, guys, there's some. Well, I'll just tell you as we go. Like this first one. Ready? So this is from, and I'm going to say your usernames too. This is from Nitzvitz. Do you guys want to spend your life together in the United States or India or both?
Oh, I know her. See, this is where remembering
Okay.
of the names,
Well,
names
yeah,
like hell.
you're going to know all of them because I can't tell you guys. It is mind boggling how often, whether it's a YouTube comment or an Instagram comment, I'll say a comment and Indrani will tell me the name of the person and the image on their Instagram page. It is extraordinary, this woman's memory.
I have antenna
You have
for
powers.
recognizing names.
You have powers.
I have
Okay,
heart.
so do you guys want to spend your life together in the United States or India or both? That's presupposing. I mean, the beginning of that sentence is presupposing we want to spend the rest of our life together, isn't it?
Yes. So, would you like to answer that?
I don't know.
We
Yeah,
will spend uh, ample amounts of time in both places. In both places. So,
yeah,
because like his work is India oriented. So,
and always
yeah.
will be connected to India. But do you mind me sharing something about you and your childhood and how that relates to the United States, Ben? Is that okay?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Can I share with them stuff about you growing up and how the United States? I don't even need to do it. You can do it. What the United States has meant to you since you were a little girl.
Sure.
I don't want to do it. I'd rather you do it. It's your
Well,
story.
well, um, I I really like when people ask me, many of my relatives, we'll talk about them, like ask me that how are you going to go there and at this age, and settle down and adjust with the culture and everything. Well, it wasn't really, rocket science for me. I know it's going to be very tough, and I'm excited, but I'm also, stressed out and scared as well because it's a huge leap. It's a huge leap for, me to take this step. And of course, life is full of surprises. But since I was a childhood, I since I was what? Since I was a child, I used to be so attracted with all of the sitcoms, like from American TV shows that I used to watch. And I had no friends who watched those sitcoms and soap operas and music videos with me. I guess you could call me like, my family used to call me like, a spoiled child who always watches these like English shows and everything. But I felt really close to that culture, and I guess a lot of Indians we are exposed to American television like from the get-go because when we used to like at least the 90s babies I can tell when we used to turn on the TV and when we used to watch cartoons, every show, starting from cartoon to soap operas to sitcoms, were from America. So, like, it has been a very uh, a close culture to my heart, and I feel like it's a true calling that I didn't ever expect that love will come as a disguise from that country. Because I thought that maybe at one point in my life, since I studied about with performing arts, dance was my honor subject, and I did my master's degree with that. I thought that I will somehow pursue my PhD and go abroad, go especially to the US and work with, Martha Graham Institute and interview a lot of people with, you know, experience in contemporary dance art form. So um, I thought it was going to be my work centric area because I would love to work with contemporary hip hop dancing, especially like the street dancing of America. but I never in my life thought that love will come as a disguise to me. I thought I would go there and work there and maybe open up a dance studio there, and I have this dream of like amalgamating Indian dance and American dance in
Hmm.
like in a beautiful form. I that's my dream. That's my dream. Like I'm sure many of you have heard of like Uday Shankar, who like mixed both cultures together and created like a beautiful dance form. So that's my true goal, like to blend both cultures together. So, and this is a huge blessing for me that I had no idea that love will come as a disguise from that country.
And as you said that,
So,
it reminded me of something I had said a while back about the fact that I had been to many countries, but India was the first country to come to me. Yeah.